The conference room went silent. 12 people stared at me. Our biggest client looked confused. The VP of sales had her arms crossed. And my boss, Derek, sat at the head of the table with this expression, half disappointment, half satisfaction. "So you sent the client deck with last quarter's numbers," Derek said slowly. "The numbers I specifically told you were outdated." Everything in me wanted to scream, to pull up the text message on my phone right there, to show everyone that he'd approved it, that he'd told me to send it exactly as it was. But I looked at his face, the slight headshake, the warning in his eyes. "I must have grabbed the wrong version," I heard myself say. Derek sighed like a disappointed parent. "This is a teaching moment, everyone. Excellence isn't optional here." He turned back to me. "I need the correct presentation by tomorrow morning, and maybe take tonight to think about whether this role is really the right fit." Someone actually chuckled. My face burned. My hands shook under the table. I said nothing. I smiled. I nodded. That smile was the last mistake Derek would ever see me make. 6 months earlier, I'd walked into Catalyst Marketing as their new senior account manager. 5 years experience, killer portfolio, references that made me look like a corporate superhero. Derek interviewed me personally. He was charismatic, full of big ideas and bigger promises. "You're exactly what we need," he'd said. "Fresh blood, proven talent. We're going to do incredible things together." The first month was perfect. He gave me high-profile accounts, invited me to leadership meetings, praised my work publicly. I was working 80-hour weeks and loving it. Then we won the Meridian account, $300,000. I'd built the entire pitch, strategy, creative, numbers. Derek had reviewed it, approved it, presented it with me. The client signed the same day. At our team meeting, Derek clicked through my slides and said, "I really pushed creative boundaries on this one. My slides, my strategy, my boundaries." I looked around the table. Marcus, our creative director, caught my eye and shrugged, like this was normal. It kept happening. An industry award for a campaign I'd designed. Derek accepted it alone. A client I'd brought in through my personal network. Derek told executives it was his relationship that closed it. Every success became his. Every failure had my name on it. But I kept quiet. That's how corporate works, right? You pay your dues. Your turn comes eventually. Except my turn never came. Derek started blaming me for his mistakes in front of the team. Missed deadlines he'd caused, budget overruns he'd approved, client complaints about promises he'd made. Each time, he'd look disappointed and say something about my judgment or attention to detail. I started saving emails, not planning anything, just trying to prove to myself I wasn't losing my mind. Marcus told me over drinks one night that Derek had a brother-in-law on the board of directors. "That's why he's bulletproof," Marcus said. 3 people have gone to HR about him. All 3 don't work here anymore. I should have started looking for another job. Instead, I kept building my folder of evidence. The meeting happened 3 weeks before our biggest pitch of the year. Derek was presenting quarterly results to executives and our top clients. He'd worked on the deck for days, refusing help. Tuesday night at 11 p.m., he emailed me, "Give this a final look and send to everyone for tomorrow." I opened it immediately. The numbers were from Q2, not Q3. Everything was wrong. Revenue, projections, client lists. I called him. Voicemail. I texted, "Derek, these are last quarter's numbers. Should I update or did you want the comparison?" His response came at 11:47 p.m. "Looks good. Send it." I took a screenshot of that text. I don't know why. Instinct, maybe. The meeting started at 9 a.m. 10 minutes in, the VP of sales interrupted. "These numbers don't match what finance sent last week." Derek didn't even flinch. He turned to me with perfect, patient concern. "Did you send the updated version?" My mouth opened. The phone in my pocket had the proof. One swipe and everyone would see his text. But I saw his face, the dare. If I called him a liar in front of everyone, I wouldn't just be calling out my boss. I'd be the problem employee who couldn't take responsibility. HR would side with him. They always did. So I took the fall. I used the wrong version. Derek's disappointment looked so real. He launched into his speech about standards and excellence while I sat there feeling like I was drowning. The meeting ended early. I walked back to my desk through a gauntlet of whispers and pitying looks. I sat down, opened my laptop, pulled up that text message. "Looks good, send it." I created a folder, named it Derek. Then I opened my calendar and found what I was looking for. The Apex project kickoff was in 6 weeks. $2 million rebranding, 6-month timeline. The CEO was personally overseeing it. Derek would volunteer to lead it. He always did with high-profile projects. And I was going to make absolutely sure he got it. Because I just figured out how to destroy him. I spent the next week being the perfect victim, apologetic, grateful for second chances, working late to rebuild trust. Everyone relaxed. Derek went back to his normal routine. Long lunches, early exits, golf Thursdays. But I was watching everything now. Derek's assistant Jennifer managed his actual work. She cleaned up his messes, covered his absences, finished presentations he'd abandoned. I'd never paid attention before. Now I noticed she looked exhausted, angry even. I took a risk. "Jennifer, I need to ask you something." I kept my voice low. "That presentation Derek blamed me for, did he actually review it before he told me to send it?" She looked at me for a long moment. "He didn't open the file." "How do you know?" "Because I track everything. Calendar, emails, file access. I have to, because when things go wrong, he looks for someone to blame. And lately," she paused, "it's been me more than anyone." "What do you mean?" She pulled up a phone, showed me a text from Derek at 3 a.m. 2 weeks ago. Why wasn't I prepped for the Morrison meeting? Her response, "I sent you the brief Monday and reminded you yesterday. Would you like me to resend it?" His response, "Don't make excuses, do better." "He never read the brief," she said, "never showed up to the meeting, blamed me for not making it clear enough that it was mandatory." I looked at her, really looked at her. "How long have you been documenting this?" 3 years. My heart rate picked up. Why? Because I'm not going down for him. When he finally screws up bad enough, I'm making sure everyone knows who's really been running his department. She met my eyes. "And after what he did to you, I think that day is coming soon." 2 weeks later, the CEO announced the Apex project. Derek's hand shot up before anyone else could speak. "I'll lead it. I'm thinking Marcus for creative, and—" He paused, looking around the room. His eyes landed on me, and I saw the calculation. Putting me on his team would look magnanimous, forgiving. "And you've been wanting to prove yourself." I smiled. "I'd be honored." Perfect. Over the next month, I made myself indispensable to Apex. I volunteered for everything. Late nights, weekend work, every detail. Marcus and I built the strategy, while Derek showed up for important meetings with the CEO, presenting our work as his vision. I let him. But I was tracking everything. Every meeting Derek missed, every deadline he forgot, every decision I made that he later claimed as his own. The documentation folder grew daily. Week 8, I found what I needed. I was working late, needed a file from Derek's computer. Jennifer let me use it. His desktop was chaos, dozens of folders with names like Final V7 and Use This One. I found what I needed, but as I closed out, I saw a folder, Blackwood Industries, Confidential. Blackwood was our second biggest client. Derek handled them personally, always. I clicked it. Inside were emails between Derek and someone at Blackwood. They were discussing our pitches before we made them, our pricing strategy, our internal negotiations. Derek was feeding them insider information. In the most recent email, there was a Venmo request confirmation, $5,000. He wasn't just giving information, he was selling it. My hands shook as I copied everything to a thumb drive. This was career-ending, possibly criminal. I could take it to the CEO tomorrow, end this now, but Derek's brother-in-law was on the board. They'd bury it, spin it, and somehow it would end up being my fault. No, I needed the perfect moment. when Derek was already falling, when the company needed someone to blame, when they'd be grateful for the evidence instead of defensive. I backed up the files and closed the folder carefully. Then I started planning. Week 12 of Apex, the CEO scheduled a major presentation, progress report to executives and the client. Derek would present our work. The project was going well. Great, actually. Marcus and I had executed flawlessly. But there was one problem Derek didn't know about: the budget. Derek had been approving expenses for months without checking them. Premium vendors he'd promised the client, features outside our scope, rush fees because he'd missed deadlines. Every time I'd flagged budget concerns, he'd replied, "Make it happen," or "Client wants it." I documented every single approval. We were going to be $600,000 over budget, 30% overrun on a project the CEO was personally watching. Marcus and I spent a week building the presentation. It was flawless. The work was strong, the client was happy, the strategy was brilliant. And I included a detailed budget breakdown, every expense, every approval, every email where Derek had said, "Looks good," without doing the math. Thursday night, Derek reviewed it. He barely looked at it. "Looks great. Send it to everyone." "Should I include the detailed budget breakdown?" I asked innocently. "Sure, whatever. Just make it look good." I sent it that night to everyone: the CEO, the CFO, the entire executive team, the client. Friday morning, I got to the office at 7 a.m. I printed backup copies of every budget approval email. I organized them chronologically. I put them in a folder and left them in my desk drawer. Then I texted Jennifer, "Is Derek planning to review the presentation before the meeting?" Her response, "He's playing golf until 8:30. Meeting starts at 9. I smiled. Derek walked in at 8:59, relaxed, coffee in hand. He winked at me. Ready to crush this? Absolutely. He had no idea. The conference room was packed, the entire executive team, the client's leadership. Derek stood at the front, confident, clicking through our slides. The first 20 minutes were perfect. The designs were brilliant, Marcus's work. The strategy was sound, my work. Derek presented it all like he'd personally crafted every detail. Then he clicked to the budget slide. I watched his face change. The smile froze. His eyes scanned the numbers. He kept talking, but his voice had lost its confidence. The CFO interrupted. "This shows a $600,000 overrun." "Those are—" Derek's eyes darted to me, looking for help. "Those include some optional expansions." The CEO leaned forward. "What optional expansions?" Derek fumbled. He hadn't read this slide. "The premium vendor packages and additional features the client requested." The client's CEO spoke up, confused. "We didn't request additional features. You offered them. You said they were included." Silence. The CFO was scrolling through the appendix on his tablet. "These are all expenses you personally approved, Derek." He read dates: November 12th, December 3rd, January 15th. He looked up. "This one's from last week." Derek's face went red. "I was told these were within budget parameters. My team should have—" "Your team?" Marcus's voice cut through. He didn't yell, didn't get emotional, just stated facts. "Derek, I've sent you 11 emails about budget concerns. You responded to 2 of them, both times saying, 'Handle it.'" The CEO turned to me. "Is this accurate?" I pulled out my tablet. I didn't look at Derek. "I can show you the correspondence if helpful." "Please." I sent the emails to the room. Every warning I'd sent Derek, every concern I'd raised. His responses: "Looks fine. Client wants it, make it happen. We'll figure it out later." The silence in the room was deafening. Jennifer's voice came from the back, quiet but clear. "I can confirm Derek hasn't attended a budget review meeting in 9 weeks. I've rescheduled 4 calls this month because he was unavailable." Derek stared at her, betrayed. But Jennifer wasn't done. "He was at the country club yesterday afternoon when the project team requested an urgent budget call." The CEO's face was stone. "Derek, hallway, now." They were gone for 12 minutes. Through the glass, I could see Derek talking rapidly, gesturing. The CEO barely moved. When they returned, the CEO's voice was calm and cold. Derek will be taking a leave of absence effective immediately. I'll be appointing an interim project lead by end of business today. He turned to me. You have complete project documentation? Every deliverable, every timeline, every decision point. I can brief you this afternoon. Your interim lead. My office at 3 p.m. Derek left without looking at anyone. The meeting ended. As people filed out, the CFO stopped me. That was well documented. I believe in thorough record-keeping. He almost smiled. I can see that. I sat alone in the conference room for a moment, looking at the budget slides still on the screen. I hadn't lied, hadn't sabotaged anything, hadn't broken a single rule. I'd just shown them what was already there, but I wasn't done yet. HR called me in that afternoon, before my meeting with the CEO. You're not in trouble, Patricia from HR said immediately. We're gathering information about project management issues. Of course. The budget documentation you presented. How long have you been tracking these concerns? Since week 3. I sent updates to Derek every 2 weeks. They're all time-stamped. She made notes. Did Derek ever acknowledge these concerns? His responses are in the email thread. He typically approved the spending and told me to proceed. She nodded slowly. We are conducting a comprehensive review, not just of Apex. We need to understand if there are broader patterns. She paused. Have you experienced or witnessed other management issues? This was the moment. I could unload everything. But I'd learned from Derek, never show all your cards. I have documentation of project oversight if that would be helpful. Her eyes sharpened. She knew there was more. Very helpful. Send it when you can. That night, I sent her everything. Every time Derek took credit for others' work, every missed meeting, every employee he'd blamed, 2 years of patterns. Everything except the Blackwood emails. I was saving those. 3 days later, Derek was officially placed on administrative leave. The CEO made me permanent lead on Apex. Jennifer started reporting directly to me. First thing she said, I have files you need to see. She showed me her archives. 3 years of Derek's calendar showing him billing client hours during golf games, emails where he told her to lie about his whereabouts, expense reports that didn't match his activities. Why are you showing me this? Because you didn't throw anyone under the bus, you just told the truth. She paused. And because when they fire him, they're going to ask questions. I want to be ready. They fired him 2 weeks later. The official reason was performance issues and mismanagement of the Apex project. But I knew there would be an exit interview, standard procedure, and Derek would be angry, desperate. He'd try to blame me. So the day before his exit interview, I scheduled a meeting with the CEO, just me. There's something you need to know about the Blackwood account, I said. I showed him everything. The emails, the insider information, the Venmo payments. His face went pale. How long have you had this? 2 months. Why didn't you bring it to me immediately? Honestly, I wasn't sure you'd believe me. Derek has family on the board. I thought it would get buried and I'd be the one who ended up looking vindictive. I paused. But now that the company has already made the decision to terminate him based on performance, this is just additional information, in case he tries to dispute anything. The CEO stared at me for a long moment. That's very strategic thinking. I learned from watching Derek. The difference is, everything I'm showing you is true. Derek's exit interview happened the next day. Whatever he said in there, it didn't matter. The Blackwood evidence made sure of that. 2 weeks after Derek left, the CEO called me to his office. We're creating a new position, Director of Client Strategy. It's yours if you want it. You'll take over Derek's former accounts and build out your own team. Thank you. I'm very interested. He nodded. You handled this situation with remarkable restraint and remarkable preparation. I just documented the truth. You did more than that. You waited for the right moment. You built an airtight case. You didn't let emotion drive your decisions. He paused. That's leadership. I didn't tell him I'd spent 6 months planning Derek's destruction, that every smile, every yes, every late night had been strategic. Some things don't need to be said. It's been 6 months since that meeting. The Apex project launched successfully, under budget, ahead of schedule. The client signed a 3-year extension worth $4.5 million. Marcus is now creative director. Jennifer got the raise she deserved 3 years ago and a new title. We promoted 2 people from Derek's former accounts who'd been quietly doing excellent work while he took credit. I see Derek's LinkedIn updates sometimes. He found another job. Same level, smaller company. I wonder if they know what they hired. People ask if I feel guilty, if the revenge was worth it. Here's the thing. I didn't ruin Derek's career. He did that himself. I just held up a mirror at the exact right moment. The silence wasn't weakness, it was strategy. Every time I said nothing, I was watching, learning, documenting, building an airtight case so that when the moment came, there would be no doubt, no spin, no way out. Could I have spoken up in that first meeting? Sure. I could have pulled out my phone, shown everyone the text message, made Derek look bad. And then what? He had power, protection, connections. I'd have looked defensive, difficult, unprofessional. I'd probably be the one who got fired. Instead, I waited for him to hang himself with his own rope. I just made sure there was plenty of rope available. The best revenge isn't loud or dramatic. It's not about getting even. It's about being so undeniably competent, so thoroughly prepared that when the moment comes, and it always comes, the truth speaks for itself. I didn't humiliate Derek in a meeting. I didn't have to. I just showed everyone what he'd been hiding behind other people's work for years. Would I do anything differently? No, because the waiting taught me something valuable. Patience isn't weakness. Documentation isn't paranoia. And silence, when used strategically, is the loudest statement you can make. That Wednesday morning, Derek thought he'd found another person to blame, another scapegoat. He had no idea he'd just declared war on someone who fights with spreadsheets and timestamps. I said nothing in that meeting, but my silence had already started screaming. If you've been humiliated at work, blamed for something that wasn't your fault, or watched someone steal your credit, drop your story in the comments. Tell me if you fought back or stayed silent. Tell me what happened. Because sometimes the quietest revenge is the one they never see coming. Thanks for watching.